Combat in MMOs, especially in tab target MMOs, can be hard to get actually feeling like fluid and fun. But Final Fantasy, they've managed to do something that's really interesting with its combat systems. So we're going to break it down for today's video. Disclaimer though, I have not played every single class. I have gotten one in every role to level 80, and I have played at least majority of the classes and brought majority of them to at least around level 70, low 70s and mid to high 60s. So I have experienced every type of gameplay, from physical DPS melee to physical DPS range to healers to tanks and casters. I have my toe dipped in every single one, and I have played them all to at least a high enough level that I've unlocked either 90% of their kit or fully. So I have at least a fundamental understanding of how this phenomenon is applied to each class. Now, in stating this, it's felt more in the melee classes, but the fundamentals of what this system represents and how it's intended to work still does apply to the casters. It's just visibly more apparent in the melees. In World of Warcraft, combat is more of a reactionary button mash fest, where the buttons you press don't really matter, the order or shape or form. You just drop your abilities off CD and hope for the best. And when any game has a competitive nature surrounding it, whether it be hard PvE content or PvP content, a meta is going to be developed. Players will undoubtedly shift towards a more optimal path. People like efficiency and will always try to make their classes stronger by maximizing their ability usage efficiency. You probably noticed and felt this, that initially in FF's combat, it's kinda slow. When you're used to most games using WoW's 1.5 second GCD, and you move to a 2.5 second GCD, it's a really large decrease. And the pacing at the low levels can be a real turnoff to some players coming in with expectations and preconceived notions about what combat should feel like because they're used to it. Not only does the pace of the combat improve as your stats increase, but also everyone is given their abilities that have their own cooldowns that do not get put on the GCD, the 2.5 second timer. So, in between each GCD ability you hit, you have 2.5 seconds to hit OGCDs, and that can lead to a massive increase in player combat pacing and complexity. This is where Final Fantasy has done something very noteworthy. Something that if you honestly don't pay attention to, you won't really notice too much. But you'll always kind of passively feel what it's doing to you. And you'll never really understand why it feels so different than the other MMOs unless you truly take a second to break it down and dissect what's happening. Final Fantasy's developers have taken the idea of a rotation, something that in games like World of Warcraft only existed because players optimized and continued to use those habits to create something different. Final Fantasy's developers have taken the idea of a rotation, something that only existed in World of Warcraft because of player optimization habits, and used that to their advantage in creating something that's truly unique. With the addition of the combo system, Square Enix has managed to predetermine what the optimal rotation for every class is to a certain extent, allowing for them to literally pre-create the rotation and the gameplay style to make sure that players have a fun and engaging gameplay style for every single class, letting the OGCD abilities really lean into roles and have really bombastic and fun actual effects, and it's fantastic. This also lets the player play the class the way it's intended by the people who actually designed it, so no awkward middle ground is met. The classes all feel incredibly satisfying and useful, while also feeling like the individual agency of your role in a group is still important. When the player is trying to play a class one way, but the developers want you to play it another way, it can end up leaving a class feeling very mediocre and sometimes unplayable. We're looking at the earliest iterations of Survival Hunter, and then now, honestly, the current iterations of Survival Hunter. It's just not fun. It can be strong, but nobody wants to play it. There's a very, very, very tiny niche of people who enjoy that class. With Final Fantasy's developers using the combo system, they've managed to make sure that if you want to do the most damage, you're going to have to use the abilities in the way they've designed them to be used in that specific order. And it creates an incredibly easy workaround to the problem that developers in WoW have complained about for years as a major issue, and it's been an excuse that they've used to not make some very integral changes that we've needed as players for years. They're saying, oh, well, there's no point in making X change because you're just going to optimize and change, and we're just going to, if we make a change to this system, then you're just going to optimize it, and this other parts that we were going to put in are just useless. But that's just not true. We've seen that be the case in Final Fantasy. There's a way around it. The soulbind system was one of them. It was terrible. There was an optimal path, and we said, hey, can we have a workaround for this? They said, no, you're just going to optimize, and it defeats the purpose. And I think that's a very terrible cop-out, and that doesn't give enough respect to the players. I think World of Warcraft could benefit heavily from swallowing their pride and getting their staff out there, playing their game and other games for some much needed inspiration. Because we all know there's no such thing as a new idea. Just learn to use existing ideas creatively in your own way and bringing together the best that this genre has to offer to create something new. World of Warcraft was able to do this once before and set a precedent for years. But that precedent has created some very toxic, horrible systems that are really antithetical to players having a fun time. And Final Fantasy has done a fantastic job of reversing some of that damage. World of Warcraft really needs to let Final Fantasy take its throne at the top and take this genre for a ride for a couple of years. So maybe some new ideas can come out, and maybe World of Warcraft can come back in with some newer, fresher ideas with the intent on stealing us all back. I don't know if I'll ever leave Final Fantasy after what they've done to me, but I would love for World of Warcraft to try because it does have a special place in my heart. I played it for years. I loved World of Warcraft. So I hope that you guys can do it. Blizzard, guys, if you ever watch this, I loved your game so much. And I really want you guys to understand that we want to love it. But with the current culture at your office, the way the story is going, and these terrible systems, and the way you predatorize your player base with your monetization, it's not what we're looking for in a game right now. The community needs a positive thing right now. And I think Final Fantasy has to be it because of their just air of positiveness and their light energy that they bring, this happiness. And I think you need to take a page from that. So drop a comment below, guys. Tell me, do you feel like World of Warcraft is salvageable? I would love to know if you feel like World of Warcraft's combat is good enough to bring it on its own. How do you feel about Final Fantasy's combat? Tell me, how do you feel about these things? I'd love to know. I'd love to argue with you in the comments about which one you think is better. Hit the subscribe and hit that notification bell, because for some reason, if I don't tell you to do it, apparently you won't do it. But if I tell you, the chance of you doing it's pretty high. Whatever, psychology, you know? I appreciate it. Join the Discord. That's where I want to see you guys, is in the Discord community, where we're trying to grow a big community of MMO, FPS, and just gamer god lovers, dude. I really appreciate it, honestly. Seeing people come in and comment saying, hey, Kanoodle, I don't understand how you don't have more viewers, or I don't understand how you are not, like, bigger yet. I don't know. But I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot to me knowing that you find my content to be at that top level. So I'm going to keep working. We're going to keep doing our best. And hopefully we can continue to grow together as a community. Have a good one, boys. Drop on over to the Twitch. We'll try to be as live as often as we can, playing games, playing Valorant, playing Halo, playing Final Fantasy. And hell, maybe we might go back to WoW someday. Have a good one. See you in the next one.